Okay, thanks for everyone joining us today. It looks like we have a good number. This is actually our second chapter chat this year on recruitment and retention, but for those of you who were on the call in November, we've switched up some things. So hopefully we have some new information for you, and as always, we welcome your input, and we would love to hear your best practices at the chapter and district level. So my name is Kim. I'm from ANFP headquarters. I work in the chapter relations department, and today we'll specifically be going over why people volunteer, because that gives a lot of insight on where they can fit into the chapter. Best practices, as I mentioned, we'll actually be doing a case study, so I hope that it comes up with some fun solutions. And then we have a page for an idea, but again, we welcome any input because the list for recruitment and retention is never exhausted. So I am actually going to show you my desktop now. We're going to watch a short video. Go YouTube.
The thing about volunteering is the biggest difference in me. It's about people, and it makes a really lifetime friendship doing it. Really learning more about what I can push myself to do.
All right. Of course, technological difficulties. So, got that, I guess. We can see what happened there. Let's see. Okay, so that was a short video supposed to be about why people volunteer and what makes them stay, what benefits they found from it. I'll send that link with the follow-up email so that you can watch the whole thing. All right, so we talked about why do people volunteer, and they can be for so many reasons or across the board, whether it's to add to their resume or they want to make new friends, if they want to get out of their house and kind of diversify who they interact with. This list is from a great website called volunteermatch.org, and they have a lot of great information about volunteering and again, why people get involved. So, whatever gets them door is great. They may need to be convinced that there are benefits that apply to them. But once that happens, the very next step is to give them a positive experience. So I want to ask you, I want to open the floor. If any of you are muted, you can unmute by clicking that red microphone button on the right side of the screen. But what methods have you used to bring in new volunteers that worked really well, or what got you through the door? That would be a really great insight, and may work for some other people too. So anybody have any great ways that they brought in new volunteers?
Hi, this is Kathy. We have a real hard time with volunteers in Utah. And our state offices usually end up staying as long as they want to, because we just don't have a lot of volunteers. It's really a hard thing for us here. I don't really know why, but my reason for volunteering is because I want to see our chapter continue to exist and want to, have it grow and be better. But if anybody has any great ideas, I'm here for the ideas, because I don't know how to get people to volunteer.
And what was this, Marlene? Yep, go ahead, Marlene.
Okay, this is Marlene from Wisconsin, and I actually have had that same problem. Our chapter is dwindling, and the same ones are in for 10, 20 years. We actually dissolved our chapters, our districts, because of volunteering. We thought we'd get a lot of the really good, strong volunteers and get them on the state level, and that actually didn't happen either. But we just had the regional in Milwaukee, and I don't know how many of you were there, but it was just absolutely awesome. I keep telling Kim, Karen, and Kate and all the girls, I'm just so excited because people I'm not sure if it was more interaction or just more, the bigger crowd or whatever it was, but I actually had people come up to me and say, what can I do to get more involved? And I'm going, oh my gosh, give me your card. I will get in touch with you. And I have, I actually have somebody running against our treasurer who's been treasurer for, I don't know, a lot of years. So I have a brand new person running for treasurer, and, I have someone helping with the website now. I have just this whole, I can't say it's hundreds, but, it's a handful, and that's a good start of volunteers. Now, one of the things that we did is, as a Wisconsin chapter, we gave away cutting boards at the expo. And then what I did is I sat right by Millie, who was the Simply Thick, who had the Simply Thick table. So I sat right by her, and I was talking to everybody as they went by at the expo. So, I had a lot of one-on-ones. We also spread ourselves out. The people that were quite, always volunteering, we spread ourselves out, and we sat at different tables. We talked to different people. And I think the people at Nationals, you guys are just awesome. They just helped us tremendously. So I am so excited about next year. I can't even hardly stand it. So, this year is just was a learning experience for me as president. Next year I think is just going to be awesome.
You had so many great thoughts in there, Marlene. Thank you. Very nice of you to say, too. So you had a chapter table you sat in Expo. You also had volunteers sit at different tables, so they mingled with new members and maybe some who were longtime members but weren't quite involved yet. And you didn't mention this, but you did have the Wisconsin chapter had little postcards on the table available to let everybody know what positions were available in the chapter also.
Yes, we did. Yes. We had the table right by the registration table, which really helped us, so we took advantage of that too. Yeah, we had little cards, so everybody could take a little card, and we had all of our positions, volunteer positions, available on that card. So, we just had, I think they're out there. All you need to do is address them and look for them and give them time. Kathy from Utah, I think, she said why she volunteers, and that's why I volunteer. But until you get involved, you just don't even really know those things. You don't know that how much you get out of it when you volunteer until you do it.
Excellent.
Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
This is Harry in Connecticut.
In Minnesota. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I myself got involved because I knew there were people who would help me figure out what I needed to do. In turn, I turned around and formed a committee who would, I think people were a little afraid of taking positions because it's just, it got to be where you just hand something over and there was no help and you just were left there with a job. Well, I formed a committee to help people, we would go anywhere in the state and mentor several of our board members and our presidents. I got such a huge positive response from that because the ball had kind of been dropped, and the people who were leaving office weren't helping the people who were coming into office. They were standing off the job, and we're done and I'm gone, and we stopped that. So we're mentoring people, we're standing beside them, we're helping them with their positions. If they have questions, we're getting back to them right away. If they need us one-on-one, we go to where they are, and we sit down, and we help them through whatever they need to. And most of them realize that, hey, this isn't brain surgery. It's really easy. Thank you for your help. So that's what I've discovered.
Good, yeah. We talked about getting them through the door, but it's really important for that support system to keep them there.
Yeah.
So, Harry, did you have something to add?
Yeah, Harry in Connecticut. I joined because I was in restaurants and hotels, and I went into healthcare, and my local purveyor, they had somebody who was came out and consulted the accounts or whatever and did the ServSafe, and so he came out and he saw that I had connections with the Connecticut Chefs Association, and I actually was going to become a certified executive chef of CEC, but he said, if you're going to stay in healthcare, you might want to join the DMA. It's, it's the healthcare side of an association, the networking and all of that. So that's why I joined. Then what happened to me is what I heard the last caller. I don't blame my predecessors. They held Connecticut together, basically three or four of them, and I don't know, could be a dozen years. It was at least, I've been in it now 7, and they had, had done most of it for those years, and when I went to one of the meetings, they were like, hey, can we talk to you after? And I was like, oh, boy, must have done something wrong. And they're like, hey, you want to join the board? And so I joined the board, but then they've taken on positions at other places that are more demanding or whatever, so they have basically left the association. So I'm president, webmaster, newsletter editor. I guess that's it. And but I have one person, Wilbert Michael Lawrence. He's all excited and he wants to get involved. And then I'm lucky enough, my local purveyor, Hartford Provisions, they have a food show in September, and now they've started a healthcare food show in April. And they let us have district meetings there, but I've asked them, they're going to make room for the next meeting, so that'll be in September, that we're going to have a booth, and it's going to be close to where the entrance is, because I need to try to recruit more people. And I think, like the last caller just said, I think a lot of, and especially if I can get a booth at the healthcare show, because people in healthcare, I think, would like a chance to network and continue their education and everything that the ANFP does. The only flip side that I think I can see is that, though, the membership fee, depending on where you are, if you're at a facility that likes the high-end visibility, I'm lucky. Every place I've ever worked at paid for my dues for the Connecticut Chefs, and now the Alzheimer's Resource Center is paying for my ANFP dues because they want that kind of high-profile person running the kitchen. They want a certified person. That's the type of facility we are, and we actually do a lot of consulting. So I'm not sure, and plus we're not-for-profit, so I'm not sure if a lot of the corporations out there are willing to pay the fee, and in turn, but then they probably want, well, what am I getting for the fee? So what? So they'd have to look into see that everything the ANFP does for a person that's in it, plus being certified, and I think that carries some weight.
Yeah, and in terms of volunteers, even if their employer doesn't support them with that time commitment or whatever at the time, they may be able to in the future. So, the old saying, don't burn any bridges, because they may come back as a volunteer in the near or distant future. Either way, it's a good contribution.
This is Joe from Seattle, and we really start them off small. You just get them, help them put the chairs away, or help them make the coffee, and help them fold programs. And just by getting them in the door with something small like that, you have a chance to talk to them, have a chance to develop a relationship, talk about what you're doing, and the joy and the responsibilities that you have in volunteering. And that has usually been a way to kind of sneak them slowly in through and maybe get them on a committee where they're helping make some decisions as far as conferences or membership or government affairs. But what has had the biggest impact is if you can get someone to the annual, get someone to the national leadership. I think that was my experience. Once I saw the organization as a whole on the bigger picture, it inspired me to get more involved on the local level. And it seems like all of our major volunteers, all of our major leadership has been somebody who has had the opportunity to go to the end of the national meeting.
Excellent. And if anybody does want to go, the foundation has scholarships. A lot of chapters have scholarships for these types of things to help pay for travel. If you or anybody is interested, the foundation scholarships are due May 31st. So it's coming up, but they are available every year.
So Kim, are they going to be? They'll announce the scholarship recipients in June.
Yes, they should be. I can double check on that though.
Okay.
All right, and I'll include that in the follow-up email to this call. All right. You all pretty much covered my next slide, which is great. So best practices, these are more the intangibles, but to build those relationships, keep regular contact. This isn't possible with hundreds of members, we know this, but even email updates or newsletters that can touch all of the chapter members can make them feel more connected to the bigger ANFP community. A lot of you talked about...
Kim, it's Tammy in Louisiana. That email that you're talking about, it's surprising you all when you do that because though you don't feel like you really have any contact with somebody, you only sent an email. We've been sending our newsletter out via email, and I've gotten more responses back from people that I didn't think ever paid any attention. Just even if it's the comment, thanks, I got the newsletter, or like this time our newsletter was so large that I had to send 4 or 5 people a note saying, hey, go to the website and look at the newsletter because your system wouldn't let the slides come through. And I got 2 different responses of thank you for telling me because I always want to see the newsletter. And it's like we don't know that they appreciate it, but they feel like they got a communication that was, 2 seconds to send an email.
Nice, yeah. A lot of chapters have been doing that, just having me post it if headquarters hosts the website, post the newsletter, and then they'll take that link and just send that out so it exposes them to the whole website.
Right.
Meeting details usually.
Was that Tammy in Louisiana?
Yes.
Do you know the Barrett Boussard?
Yes. He's going to be my president next year. I'm ecstatic. I was hoping he was going to be on here today.
Yeah, because he, through the ANFT website, the old DMA community, we had spoken several times or emailed, and then I called him directly, and we spoke about challenges in the volunteer situation and how to go about it and stuff. So. Did
you go to the regional meeting in Tennessee?
I did not.
Okay, I was going to say somebody did, and your voice sounds familiar, so I was trying to think if it was the same person.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Tammy and Harry. Let's see. Like a lot of you mentioned, you've had personal contact and were asked personally to get involved. This always works better. Generally, an announcement to a room full of people will not bring a lot of hands up. But if you make that personal contact, the new volunteer skills and interests can have more of a custom fit to the chapter. So you want to ask, what does your chapter need to succeed? But also, what does the volunteer need to succeed? And I think Sue mentioned that a little bit earlier, that support system is really essential.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep, it's been very successful for us. And people realize that the job isn't as daunting as they thought it was. So
Yeah, and Joe mentioned in a couple others, other chapters do this. Get them involved slowly. This is the first serve opportunities. A lot of people might not want to commit to 1, 2, 3, 4 years right away, but if you can get them involved at the registration table, at the meeting, or if they want to contribute an article to the newsletter, this is a great way to get them exposed to what the chapter does, and also great networking opportunities to start with. Testimonials are particularly effective, very important part of the personal message. Why is ANSP important to you, and how have you grown? These are things new members and new volunteers like to hear. They want to know that you get what you put in and you're valued for it. So again, there are a lot of different media you can use for this. If you're comfortable public speaking, the meetings are a great place. If you have a chapter table at your expo, the newsletters, the website, emails, all of these things that we've talked about. And this last point, kind of related, but you can explain the impact and be generous with your appreciation. Even if it was that first serve opportunity or a small job, remember to say thank you. Volunteers donate their time, like all of you do. All of you are amazing. And thank you show other members the hard work and the value of being involved. All of you are very involved, and you create a team atmosphere, especially with thanking everybody often. So at the bottom I have your best practice here. We talked about a few, but does anyone have any good conversation starters that has worked for them to bring in new volunteers?
I can tell you what got me involved, and it was that personal connection, and it had to do with the mentoring that was mentioned earlier, too. The person on the nominating committee for Iowa asked me to be on the ballot, and I said, that's too much for me, and he promised that he would do anything I asked if I got elected, and I held him to that, and he did. And it goes back to what many of you have said before. People think it's a lot harder than it actually is. And so he was kind of the mentor for me to do that. And whenever I needed help with something, I asked, and he would help me with whatever I needed. And I think it's also important to make your members know about the web resources that ANSP has. In Iowa, we've brought them up on a screen during our meetings because a lot of people don't know that all those resources are on the web. They think they have this perception that they're going to have to create things from scratch, and they don't know that all of those resources are on there. Sort of piggybacking on what other people said, starting them off small. I know we've had them just hand out speaker handouts to get them involved. And we kind of bribe our people in Iowa. We are lucky enough to have the resources to send our officers to the leadership conference. So we make sure that the members know that if they run and get elected for office, their trip to the national conference is going to be paid for. And it's okay to bribe members to get involved, I think. So we do that, too.
In Washington, we have a similar thing. We can't really afford the nationals for our whole board. Before our spring and fall conferences, we make sure that people know if they're on the board that the registration and lodging is paid for the spring and fall workshops that we sponsor.
Yeah, and that especially. Sorry,
if the community doesn't support it,
who don't have the financial support to maybe step up because they figure then if they're not getting the financial support from the facility, then if they find out that some of their expenses will be paid by volunteering, they might step up.
That's actually, we do that in Wisconsin as well. We pay for the media or for the executive board. We pay for the spring and the fall meetings, half the room and the entire registration. And for national meetings, we actually pay for half the room, we pay for registration, and we also pay for airfare. You know, the rest are kind of on your own, so it's still a small financial burden, but it's, you know, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we have the resources to do that.
Kim, was that you on my computer?
Yeah, I was sharing my desktop real quick.
All right. Because, yeah, I went to the ANFP website, and it was all bouncing around. I'm like, hey, I'm not touching my mouse. What's the deal?
Yeah, I'll do that again because Ken mentioned the volunteer resources page. So I went to anfponline.org and then just logged in as myself, went to the volunteer resources section, and he was talking about all of the resources available. We have lots of samples and templates, so as he said, we don't want every volunteer creating something new if we have something available. If they want a completely different design, that's just fine, but we don't want anyone to feel lost. So that's what this page is for. Lots of meeting stuff, how-tos. This is a really great place to go. A lot of information, so we encourage people to go just if they have some free time and poke around.
Definitely.
Yeah, and like I said, we bring that up at one of our state meetings to show people all of those resources, and that takes away some of the fear people have in terms of if they're trying to get a speaker, you know, there's a form letter on the website. They don't have to create it themselves.
So I have a question. This is Kathy from Utah. So when you get a volunteer that is doing something for you but kind of not doing a great job, how do you inspire them to do better? I mean, you don't want to get on them because they might just say, okay, fine, I'm not going to do it anymore. So how do you get somebody to, I guess, take accountability for a volunteer job that, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yep. Hey,
Go ahead,
Kim,
Marlene.
this is Harry. I don't want to interrupt, but we're starting a new program on one of our neighborhoods, and I have to go train some people.
Okay. Okay, thanks for joining, Harry.
Okay.
And you will hear from me afterwards.
Okay, good luck, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye. Go ahead, Marlene.
Yes.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I forgot where we were at. I was going to respond to something, and then...
This is Kathy from Utah. I was just, we have a volunteer that really is stepping up to complete the task, and I just don't quite know how to inspire her to do better without scaring her off and saying, never mind, I don't want to volunteer.
Okay, that's what I was going to... thank you for reminding me. I actually had someone that was, kind of slacking, and so I kept emailing and trying to call. They didn't really answer a whole lot, so finally I said, well, here's the deal, we can get someone to help you with this, or if you prefer, I understand that things are changing for you at work, and it's too much of a burden for you, so if it is, if you would like to give it up, we would totally understand. What do you want me to do? How can I help you? So that's what we did. And she did then, in fact, say, well, I'll keep this part of it, but I don't want this part of it anymore because I can't do it all. So, I think you just have to approach them and ask them what you can do to help them.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent. We're going to skip ahead just one slide. So a lot of these were already mentioned, kind of group those two. But steal an idea, again, with the volunteer resources, we encourage you to actually steal them so you don't have to recreate the wheel. Nobody has to. One chapter started bringing in the new members, providing them dinner, and it was combined with the board meeting. So this was great exposure for new people at one of the spring or fall meetings. so they could see how the chapter works and, again, networking opportunity. Other chapters provide a reception for graduates of a dietary manager's course, because this is the most exciting time for a lot of these students, and it's a good time to, again, expose them to the chapter and get them involved right away. Ken mentioned money really motivates people. This could be paying for travel. Your CEs might be paid for if board members don't have to pay a registration fee at meetings. Discounts, scholarships, if your chapter pays for membership dues. That's another great way to get people connected to the chapter, and they'll probably keep coming back if their first time at a meeting, they win a raffle. That's a really good way to get people excited. So other chapters do pins or ribbons, and I think we've talked quite a bit, but if you have any other ideas, we're welcome to hear them. But I want to try this case study. I think this will be kind of fun. Ken, this may look familiar to you. So I'll read it out loud, and then we can try to figure out what's best for this chapter. And this is not based on anyone, so sorry if it sounds familiar to anyone. So a state with a large membership attracts only a small number to meetings. There are a few dedicated volunteers who want to see the chapter succeed, but no one will take the lead. One longtime chapter leader is respected for their hard work, but recruits with phrases like, "I don't want to do this anymore, it's somebody else's turn." When asked to get involved, members mumble that they are busy. So, in your opinion, what can be improved? What are the solutions? And you might want to start with, what would you tackle first? Anybody can speak up here if you want to unmute your line.
I think this is Marlene. I think I would try to, the first thing I would change is the gal, "I've done this too long, I don't want to do this anymore." Ask her, okay, let's get together and try to find someone to help us out here. If everybody thinks that you've had it, that's not going to look good for recruitment. So I think she needs to be, something needs to be done. Maybe somebody could take over part of her job to make things easier for her.
Good.
As far as recruiting members, I think just the individual talking to people, like we were all talking about here. Let's all kind of go to the different tables and see who we can pick up here. We need to talk it up. A lot of people don't volunteer because they don't know what it's all about.
Mhm.
So that's it.
Thank you. Anyone want to look at how to get somebody in a leadership position? I know you all would take it, but what if you're visiting a neighboring state and this is the situation? Or a district, if you want to relate it that way.
I'm sorry, Kim, I'm not understanding what you're asking.
The very first part, let me get my little arrow. So there are a few dedicated volunteers, but nobody wants to take the lead. They want to see the chapter succeed, but nobody will step up to, let's say, the president role.
I think a lot of people are scared of the president like name, I think it connotates a huge responsibility, but hopefully, I don't know. I think that prevents a lot of people from volunteering for a lead role. And I know in our chapter meetings, I just let everybody know that it's how many hours it takes a week or a month. It doesn't really take that much if you have other people that are willing to step up and do it. I think the most part it takes is, obviously getting the spring and the fall meetings together. But the last time after I had to get all of the speakers myself, I just assigned them to the board members, and I said, you guys I want each of you to come back with a speaker for our meeting. And I think at that point, sometimes we're afraid to delegate, and people are just waiting for us to tell them, for a task. You know what I mean? I think some people are just waiting. They would be happy to do anything, but they just need to be said, this is what we need you to do. So maybe we need to do more delegating. I don't know.
I think the first sentence
sense, but that's what I'm trying to do in my chapter.
I think the fact is they're only getting a small number to the meetings is a starting place. To really make sure that your fall and springs are attractive, that you really have some interest generated, that it's affordable. Because before you have to get them to the meetings first before you can ever get them to volunteer. And so you really have to start with an exciting meeting to begin with to get them to, if whether it's state level, whether it's district level, to really make that and exciting, to ask nationals for help if you need it, to get the right people to it, and really push attendance to begin with. And once the attendance is there, you can start working on the leadership volunteers.
I did have something to say about the nationals this year. It's the first time, it doesn't sound like a lot, but there's like 6 or 7 coming from Utah this year, which is huge. And over half of them are employer-sponsored, which is huge also for us. We have never had this many with an employer-sponsored, and I'm, wondering if that got everybody excited, and that maybe part of the key to let our employers and our managers know how, excited people are to volunteer. And the other thing is that I found out when I went to get speakers for my last meeting is I went to our community developer, kind of like the public relations person, and they are really excited, at least in our corporation, to see their employees having outside community leadership roles. And they really support that. And she was a great help in getting some help to our meetings. And that's a resource that I never even knew existed, so I just kind of went out looking for it. So that's something else that I found out this year.
That's great news. We're really excited to have that many there.
We're excited too.
Kim.
Yep.
This is Tammy in Louisiana again. One of the things that I have to say is the more positive that we can be about what we're doing. So you're talking about the lady who just said, I'm not going to do this anymore. It's got to be somebody else's turn. The more positive you are about what the existing people are doing and the more you praise them in front of others, the more people that aren't volunteering that want praise will also step up because they like hearing how somebody else got a positive and they step up. The next thing is the more you can get those people talking. When you're in a group like that and you're talking to 6 or 8 people that you haven't really got to step up, if you can get them to talk to you and tell them so that they're telling you what their skills are, then you can look at them and say, well, honey, you can do this, and before long you've got to volunteer. And they volunteered without you ever even saying. If you can get them talking about what they do and what they like, and you're being positive, they'll come forward. They often think they can't do it, and they often don't want to make the decision. Like the president's job. That's the job that has to make the decision. Nobody wants that job. If you can convince them that there's plenty of people to help you make the decision. One of the best things that we did was we do conference calls. So everybody from the board, not just the executive board, but all the presidents of all the districts are on that call. We have more presidents that are now willing to step up and do the next step because they know we're going to be on a call once a month or so, maybe every other month, every now and then. So, and we don't have to worry about the one person who isn't doing their job because they know they're going to do it the way we all discussed on the telephone. So it's not left to one person. So I'm a big proponent for conference calls if you can work it out.
It's also a better way to get a lot of people to your meetings if they're so spread out.
Mhm.
I think it's also important to remember that just because we've done it this way all the time, it doesn't always have to be that way. So breaking up some of those jobs, if it works better, I think it's important to remember that we can do that too. And I can't remember which one of you said it, about finding out their skills and getting them to volunteer sort of on their own. I think that's great. And, you know, if you're like you said, you made it up to your board to find a speaker. That's one of those things where if your officer has always had to plan the meeting, if you can find somebody who just enjoys planning the meeting, then add that person as a volunteer and take some of that away from one of the board members is a possible solution.
Yes. Sometimes our boards need to be reminded. I mean, we do every now and then. It can be however we want it. This is our board. This is our group. As long as we're not going against bylaws or something, we can do it how we want to.
That's a great point. At headquarters, we get a lot of questions about whether a chapter can do this or implement something new, and we don't care as long as, like you said, it goes against the bylaws. If you want to try something new, that's just fine with us. Okay, we're running long here, so we'll get going. Thank you for the conversation. Love all these ideas. And this list is by no means exhaustive. All of you, of course, are current volunteers. Past volunteers can be helpful as well, even if they're not on the chat, but they are available. I can connect people through the various chapters if you don't think there's anyone available in your area that can help with whatever questions you have. And we do have a great chapter leadership team, too. This is a national committee, and we just met a couple weeks ago. Ken is on the call right now, and he is also on that team. So feel free to ask any of us questions if you have them. We showed the volunteer resources page under the member login on anfponline.org. YouTube is great. Lots of videos about volunteering. I tried to show you one, but it unfortunately didn't work today. It happens. But like I said, I'll send you that link so you can see that volunteers in any area are kind of going through the same thing and volunteer for the same reasons. And finally, there's always Kate and myself at headquarters to help you answer any questions or work through any issues that you're going through in the chapter. So one more slide. We mentioned National Leadership Conference this summer. It's only a couple months away. And there are a couple changes this year with the new meeting format. So it's not annual meeting. It's completely new. We have new events planned. So Sunday, July 28th will be the very first day if you're trying to plan travel right now. So we would love for you to be there at noon. We have a volunteer appreciation luncheon. This is paid for through registration. And here is where all the chapter awards and best practices will be recognized. And this is kind of a training, but we've combined some other things. So all of the optional chapter awards and all state achievement. This is a little different, so it'll include platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. So we would love to have your chapter represented there. And then on Monday, so this would be the second day of the conference, but the first whole day, we have the business meeting and leadership recognition luncheon. So the day before, all of the chapter awards were recognized, except Diamond, and Monday, the Diamond Awards winner will be announced along with the Legacy and Distinguished Service Awards. This is not a formal event since it's midday, but we also don't have dress code. So if you want to dress up, you can go ahead. All right. Any questions about recruitment, retention, National Leadership Conference? Any other comments? Anyone want to share? All right. So thank you for all of you who have sent in all of your State Achievement Award installments. There were 4 due throughout the year, and we have most of them, so that is awesome. The optional chapter awards are due June 1st, so a couple weeks from now. The applications are available on that volunteer resources page, but I will be sending out a reminder soon in case you need that Word document or PDF. Any questions or announcements anyone wants to make before we go?
Don't forget to vote. Ken Hansen is on the ballot for chair-elect, and I would appreciate all your votes.
Yes, I will. I'm back showing my desktop right now, the ANFP website, and you can vote right in the middle here. Cast your ballot. And all you need is your member ID number. So if you forget it, you can just give us a quick call. We can get it to you, but make sure you vote because this is, I think Ken has said, your organization. So be sure that you participate. And
Thank you.
all right, thanks everyone.
Kim?
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
I just have a question. This is Kathy. I apologize. I was on vacation for the last leadership chapter meeting. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
A couple of weeks ago. And then a couple of people have asked me where the leadership is going to be next year, and I know that you've told me, but I forgot.
The National Leadership Conference?
Yes.
That is in Orlando. Right,
Oh,
Ken?
okay.
Oh, I thought it was Minnesota.
I think it's Minnesota.
Okay, I'll check on that. I thought 20...
Anyway,
right.
if you can let me know the next couple ones, that would be great.
Yes, 2014 is Minneapolis, 2015 is Orlando.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So I will write that down so everybody's clear.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. And talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.